Hi everyone, welcome to the studio. It's Marguerite with Wreaths by Marguerite. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful pixie wreath in the blue and white florals. I thought it'd be a good time to bring out some springy stuff to kind of fill in pardon me, between St. Patrick's Day and Easter. This is a great everyday wreath. It's done in the pixie wreath style, so it's still got thickness to it. It has a bow, but it's a little bit smaller profile. It won't fit behind a screen door. You're not going to be able to do that without crushing it. But there are some similarities to assembling a storm door wreath. The difference is it has the bow. I'm going to show you how to make the bow and put florals in there to enhance it even more. So stick around and enjoy the show. I first want to warn you guys that I just came off of being really sick. And it kicked my hiney, so I'm still gonna cough and sneeze and sound stuffy in the video. This is real life I'm sharing here with you, but I missed you guys. I had a lot of product filmed for you guys, but because I was so sick, I used them up before I was able to create another video. So here we are. I had a 1-week gap that drove me crazy. I'm back. I'm ready to go. Trying to get back into the rhythm of doing all this and get ready for show season. So let's go ahead and see how this beautiful wreath was made, okay? Come on, follow me. Okay, since this is not a kit, I've already pre-cut and prepped all my materials for the project, but I'll go over everything that is part of it. First thing is we have a frame. It's called a work form. It's one of the smaller ones. So it's, I think it's called 10 to 15 or 15 to 20, but it has 12 twist ties, the same number of ties as you would have with a pancake wreath, except for it's an elevated frame. There's 3 rings on it, and you see how it goes up, so that brings the depth of the wreath up, makes it fluffier when you've attached all the elements. And I'm going to remind you again, I am just getting over a relapse and the flu, and I'm doing the best I can, so give me grace, okay? I will cough, I will sneeze. I'll try not to be annoying. Okay, back to the frame. There's 12 twist ties. On a pancake wreath, we use pipe cleaners, but these are built in on the work frames. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the outside ring, and then you have 5 sets of twist ties on the center ring, and they're all spaced pretty much in between the ties on the bottom layer. So there's that. On the smaller ones, smaller frames like this versus the traditional normal size that gives you a wreath from 24 to 28 inches, even up to 30 inches once all the mesh and ribbon and all your other additions are on it. This is more between a pancake and that, closer to the size of a pancake and a wreath, which is what I call a storm door wreath in all of my videos. So we'll look at it at the end and see what it is. I'll give you the measurement on it. I'm going to say it's going to be about 22 or 23 inches wide in total. But the actual metal frame itself was 10 inches wide. Let me make sure one more time. Yeah, just a tad over 10 inches. So we're going to fold the top ones into the inside because we work from the outside to the inside. Some designers work from the top out so that they're not reaching over the outside to do the top. I do it my way. Everybody has a different way to do it. Whatever you're most comfortable with and makes the most sense is what you should do. Okay, so I'll put that aside. Just like with the storm door pancake wreaths, you're cutting your mesh at 20 inches in length. This again is 10 inches in width. So when you're purchasing this kind of mesh, you're purchasing the 10-inch mesh. So it's 10 inches from this side to this side, and I pre-cut all my pieces at 20 inches long this way. This is normal for this style of wreath as well as pancake. The difference is in how I'm going to ruffle it. So let me put that aside. This is the sign that we're using on this wreath. This was the inspiration for this wreath. And we took the colors from the sign. There was matching ribbon in both the 1.5 and 2.5 inch width, which I'm going to be using in the bow. Since this is a pixie, it's going to have a single bow to the side of the sign. So I have the 2.5 inch. I chose to go with a solid white to break up the patterns. And this is not embroidered, but it sure does look like it. I just love it. And the color. It all works really well. Yes, this exact blue doesn't appear in the sign, but it matches the color blue that's in the ribbon. So it's all coordinating. It's not a matchy-matchy perfect match. It's coordinating. And that's what you're looking for. If you want to be completely matchy-matchy, that's totally fine too. So I pre-made all my bundles. I've got 12 bundles. All of the ribbon tails were cut at 12 inches in length. I went with a 2.5 inch, a 1.5 inch, and a 2.5 inch. That's the width here. So they're 12 by 2.5, 12 by 1.5, 12 by 2.5. After I cut them, I folded each one of them in half. I'll go into that for a second. I folded them in half, wire to wire with the folded side down on the table. I folded them completely in half so that the wires on the side met, and I cut from the new fold to the wires at a 45-degree angle to get the dovetails. That's what they call this design. Some people call it V's, some people call it dovetails, ducktails. Whatever you want to call it, you go with it. I have a tendency to change it up. Keep it interesting, keep you on your toes. So after I've cut all 36 pieces, because there's 3 pieces for each tie on the frame, there's 12 bundles, 12 pieces of mesh, 12 ties on the frame. I make my bundles, and the bundles are put together with the ribbon that I want to be seen on the top once it's in the frame here. So this is how you'll see it in the frame as well, on top of the mesh, okay? So I made 12 sets. I always fold the finished side in. That's just the habit I created in the beginning, and I've gone 7 years doing it that way. If you want to do it the other way, whatever, again, is the most comfortable, this is just a recommendation, okay? So I'm going to put these all to the side. I have a 20-inch versus a standard 12-inch pipe cleaner to use to hold the bow to the wreath because it's going to be fluffier. I could have just taken 2 12-inch pipe cleaners and twisted them together. Go for it. But I invest in these, and I only use these for bows. So it's really helpful, especially when I'm selling bows only to customers. And you never know if they're going to use it on a lamppost or a mailbox or what. And the 12-inch is just not long enough. And if it's going to be put out in the weather, I'm always concerned about the twist from using 2 pipe cleaners and it falling apart. So I'm more confident in selling something to my customer if I use these. Hopefully that'll make sense. I also brought out a few pieces of florals because I may or may not use them in and around the bow or the sign when we get to that point in the project. And then these are the ribbon choices I made for the bow. I took what I was using in the ribbon tails. You don't always have to do that to put in the bow. And I also added more coordinating ribbon with it. And this is the order which I'm going to build the bow, and we'll get to that point when we get to that point. I never put 2 that have the same design right up against each other. That's why this is wrong. Let's change this. Because when you build a bow, and you'll see it when I build it, we don't want this one up against this one, and we don't want this one up against this one. So separating it, the different sizes of the same ribbon with a few ribbons always helps you make sure you get the maximum look. And what's the word I'm looking for? I'll think of it in a minute. Gives you the maximum benefit from your ribbon. I'll probably blurt it out shortly. I still have flu brain or brain fog, whatever you want to call it. That's what I got. This year's flu and all the other things have been quite expansive everywhere this year, so I didn't miss out on the pleasure to have the flu. Okay, I'm going to put the sign aside for now. I'm going to leave the ribbon tails right here because I'm going to use the ribbon tails and the mesh right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first cut my tag off. These are my Fiskars scissors. They're my favorite. They're the best ones I've found. I don't let anybody use them except for when they're building wreaths. This is my wire cutters that I purchased from Deco Exchange. These are my favorite. These are my old ones. These are great too. These are DeWalt, but these were, I was curious about them and I like them, so I switch off between the two. Most of the tools you use on this are going to be things you have around the house. Don't go investing in tools till you're sure this is something you're going to continue to do, because like I said, most of the tools you need are around your home. And I've got the scissors and the needle nose. I don't know if I'm going to need those on this project, but a good pair of needle noses is important as well. So I'm going to set these tools aside for now. And I'm also going to bring out this 6-inch plastic embroidery needle. This is an assist tool. A-S-S-I-S-T, assist tool. I use it to pull the pipe cleaners on the back of the sign through the base of the wreath. Now I need to go back to the sign for a second. This particular sign, you can probably see it better on the back. Let me see if I can bring you in closer. Ignore dogs and husbands in the background. Let's see. Image control. Let's see if I can bring this in. In this wreath, it came pre-drilled with holes at the top and the bottom. That's not always the case. If you don't have holes drilled in them, you can use a hole punch made for metal to put holes in them, or you can choose on the back of metal signs to use these cable tie mounts and glue them first with super glue on the back of them, and then going around the edge with the hot glue. Hot glue is not enough because in extreme heat and in extreme cold, it's going to cause the cable tie mount to come off. So you want to have the super glue as the solid base and the hot glue around it to reinforce it, and that'll allow you to attach the sign before the super glue is cured, okay? This is the, where is it? Tools. I got lots of tools. I have lots of, there it is. This is the hole punch I use to poke a hole in my metal signs. They have all sorts of them, usually in the jewelry departments at their craft shows. You can also get them Amazon, things like that. I'd like to get one a little bit bigger. A normal one is going to tear up your sign. Don't try it, okay? I wouldn't recommend it. If you have something you don't care about as far as a sign to try it on, go for it. But this particular one adjusts where from the edge, how far in your hole goes. But I don't have to do that with this one because it's already done for me, okay? I usually try to make sure that I take all the tags off too. Nobody needs to see that on the back of their wreath. So I might as well get that out of the way. If you have any questions about all these attachments, just send me a message or ask in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. If you have a wood sign or an MDF sign, it's like a presswood, you can use a staple gun. Just don't ever use more than a 1/4 inch staple when attaching your signs, or they will come through the front. There are other methods I've talked over the time I've had my YouTube channel. I always recommend to go back to my earliest tutorials to find out the super deep details on what I'm doing. I explain everything in those videos in every conceivable way. But since it's not a kit, this is definitely not what I'm going to take that time with, okay? And always remember you can stop and start the videos. That's the nice part about this, if you need to see something again versus me doing it in a live environment. Okay, so the first thing I needed to do was get my frame ready. When you buy these, all of the twist ties are stapled on, and they're facing the outside of the ring. I have found, particularly with the smaller wreath form, that when no matter what I do, no matter how I put everything in here, this wags. And then some of the mesh, let me give you an example. I'm going to put this piece in. If I put it in like this and put it tight, it can still wag back and forth like this. You see what I'm saying? We don't want that happening. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can take some pliers and tighten up the little staples that they have fasteners they have to hold those on. Or you can do what I do on the smaller frames like this. These are really long and I'm not going to need to use the whole thing. So what I do is I take one up through the second ring and bring it back out. Once you put the mesh back in, visuals are always helpful, right? Tight and low with that. I can have plenty of room still for my ribbon and any embellishments. And this ain't going anywhere. It's not flipping. It's going to stay in place and not relocate. Relocation bad. Okay. So I do that on all of them around the outer ring, wrapping one of the ties around the center ring. And then on the top row, I do the same thing. And I take one around the second row coming down. So I want to get that out of the way. So I'm ready to go, pushing all of the ties to the center of the wreath because I'm not using the top 5 yet. Something else to remember on this style of work frame, and size that is, too, as well. If you notice, there's 7 ties on the outside ring and 5 on the inside ring. If you try to do 2 different bundle patterns, you're going to run into a situation. Meaning, if I were to do these 3 ribbons in half the pile of ribbon tail bundles, and then I did this one instead of this one and another 6, so 6 of them had the 2.5 inch and 6 of them had the 1.5 inch, you would have a problem with an odd number of ties with 2 that end up being exactly the same next to each other. If you don't care, I don't care. If that's what you're doing, if you're trying to use up supplies, nothing wrong with that. But just know that since this has an odd number of ties on each layer, you're going to end up with 2 the same next to each other. So usually in the case of a frame like this, I make all of the bundles exactly the same. That way it doesn't matter one way or the other. So I hope that makes sense. Let me make sure I got these all wrapped around. I do not, because I remembered that to point out to you guys. So these are all done. This is done. This is done. This one's done. Okay. So now it's it's time to start playing with the mesh. I also recommend that you have a chip clip. These are the ones I use. I like them because they're nice and stiff to help you with the mesh. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean. So back to the tools. I'm a little squirrely, sorry. Everybody should have a pair of scissors in their home. Everybody should have wire cutters in a toolbox or something somewhere. Some needle nose. So a lot of the tools are not something that you need to go out and invest in until you're sure this is what you want to do more of. Okay, so let me move all of this stuff out of the way. The bonus on this mesh is that I'm using a pattern. Okay, so why that's important is it makes it easier for me to find the center of the mesh. But if it's a solid colored mesh, all you have to do is fold it in half and mark it with the chip clip to tell you where your center is, so when you're ruffling you can stay focused. But since this has a pattern, I know this white stripe is my center, so as long as I'm ruffling up this stripe, I'm going to keep my ruffles even on both sides. Now with the pancake wreath, storm wreath, you're just ruffling from one end to the other. With the technique that I'm using on this wreath, which is called the woodland ruffle, I'm doing curls on both ends and then ruffling up the center. So the way you do that is you flip it over, and I'm just going to put the chip clip up at the top with the mesh upside down to hold it in place so I can do my work. So what I'm going to do is on the end closest to me, I'm going to roll this 3 to 5 times. And the purpose of doing that is to hide your cut edges, because mesh frays, no matter what you do, there's no getting away with it. There's techniques to minimize it, but the more you can hide the exposed cut edges, the less fraying you'll see, and it'll have a much better finished look, much more aesthetic for your customer. So now I'm going to take that off of this end and hold this in the center on the other end so the curl doesn't come undone. You can make them tight or as loose as you want, and I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 curls It's up to you. I see some people that do it, which is 2 curls on there. So now I'm going to do this side. I'm going to roll it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm making sure that I'm rolling it from both ends with both hands so that I can keep the edges even and they're not sticking out funny on one side or the other, okay? So now I know this white stripe's my center, so I'm going to gather in my hand all of the ruffle, take the clip off, and put it all in my hand. That gives you like a butterfly or a bow look. And I'm going to bring over my frame to me and have it sitting in front of me with the tie that I'm planning to work on directly in front of me. And you can go this way or this way. This way definitely gives more coverage than this way. They overlap a little bit, but that helps give it the fluffiness. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to go low and tight with my twist 1 to 2 times because I don't need a whole lot. We just want to hold it in place long enough so that when we come back and put the ribbon tails in, there's plenty of room for the ribbon tails, and keeping it tight and low keeps it from being flimsy. Since we're using the same mesh all the way around, I'm not going to skip one twist tie and go to the next, skip one, go to the next, skip one, go to the next, like I do with the pancake storm door wreath. It's not a factor. It's all going to look the same this way. And I'm going to go ahead and use my sample one. Whenever I do these kind of wreaths, I make a sample piece of mesh and ribbon tail bundle and put it in the frame before I start to make sure that all the elements match and go well together with the sign, the mesh, the ribbon. I'm just that way. So I'm just going to put this one in there with this twist tie in front of me. I'm trying so hard not to cough, guys. and blow my nose. So I'm putting in there tight and low a couple times, not too much. I mean, you do want elevation in your poofs and your ribbon, but not too much because then it looks loose and unfinished. That was better. I'm taking the edges of each of these pieces of mesh and making sure they're even against each other. If it's not evenly sat in the frame, then I loosen it up and adjust it. And you will have to cut pieces of mesh fray as you go. It's just, you know, par for the course. One more recommendation when dealing with mesh: do not wear anything long sleeve or something that you own that's some of your better clothing. Excuse me. Mesh is like Velcro. It will stick to whatever it can. Okay, so there's the first 2. Take that off. Go with the next piece. I'm going to turn it upside down. So curl side up, where Storm Door Wreath is curl side down. Curl side up in the woodland ruffle method. You can use something as a weight to keep the rest of this out of the way while you're working down here. This is the center. I'm going to do it one more time. If you don't have a pattern, you just fold it in half and find it, put your finger there, and clip it. But because this is a pattern, I don't have to do that. So now I'm going to roll and make a curl. 3, 4, 5 on this end, and I'm going to move that clip here to hold it in place. I have multiple clips, but I'm not going to pollute my workspace, and it just becomes too cluttered and it makes it more difficult to work. The less you have on the table, the better. So now I'm going to do this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm keeping the curls relatively tight. So I'm going to gather it into my thumbs using both hands. You can use both hands or one hand. I mix it up a lot. You find what's your most comfortable method and you go with it. Go with it. Put that in there with the twist tie in front of me, tight and low 2 to 3 times. Bring this edge up against this edge of this piece of mesh. Make sure you're nice and even. See how it's building height already? So we're going to go to this one. Curl side up. In my center. I guess I'll do this one more time. After this, I'm just going to do it my way, the way that I'm comfortable with. I turned it around, and following this center white strip, I'm going to roll it. It helps me 3, 4, 5. And with the lines, it helps me keep everything lined up so that it doesn't get off-centered. I'm going to do this other side off-centered so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to do a very sloppy roll. See how that's sticking out way over there and that's all the way in? It's important not to do that. It's all about the aesthetics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ruffle it down that center strip into my thumbs all the way to the top. Now, as you've seen so far, I have put the mesh into the frame with the curls facing the ceiling. You can also turn it so that the curls are facing down. I prefer it the other way. Again, it's more texture. I think that's the word I was looking for earlier, texture. Dimension. Texture dimension. I'm going to continue to have the curl side facing the ceiling, and I'm going to put in my piece of mesh with the tie in front of me a couple of times. Match this up, keeping it even. If you have to adjust it, never pull from the edge. Reach down by the tie and pull it from there so that you don't disturb the design in the mesh. Okay? Alright, get it all fluffed out. Move on to the next one. I like to always have all my ties prepped and ready to go so that when I get to them, I'm not trying to hold this ruffle in one hand and manipulate it with the other. I can do it. I do it all the time, but why make things harder than they have to? I share my learning experiences with you so you can avoid some of the pitfalls. But if you want to do it another way, again, like I always say, it's your decision. I'm here to guide you. Okay, I'm not going to use the clip. I didn't measure to find my center because I have the design I've already established. And then I'm going to ruffle it up. I like to get as much of the product ready to go for when I'm putting it in the wreath so I can just speed right through it. That's how I get ready in the off season for upcoming events. I get all my materials made, just like my materials for the tutorials, prepped and ready to go, and in boxes ready to just pull out and be ready to go. Because if you get really busy, you don't want to have to try to make 10 to 12 wreaths a day, which was what I was doing in the beginning. We all learn. And I learned make kits to be ready. It really helps. Okay, so we got 2 more on this layer. Use this, or often I use my phone, but not today, to weigh it down on one end so that I can work with it without struggling. Okay. If I accidentally only roll it 3 times or 4 times instead of 5 on one side or the other, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to show that much of a difference, and once you get all your other product in, no one's going to see it. Get that in there. I ruffled it, bringing it over in front of me. Now I'm left-handed, so if it looks a little awkward to you how I'm doing it, that may be why. Sorry about that. I can't. I adapted to using scissors, right-handed scissors, because that's pretty much most of what's available in the world. But when it comes to putting this together, this is my way. Yes, I don't hold scissors like this. I hold them with my thumb in the wide part and my ring finger in the small part. I have the challenge of a very small thumb, but as you can see, that's never inhibited me from making a beautiful product. Your only limitations are the ones you make on yourself. And there are so many options and tools to help you with the process. Last but not least on this layer, I'm going to curl side up, roll the ends 3 to 5 times. Oh, I got to turn on the glue gun. No, I'll wait till I start the bow. Okay. That way I can get some of this other stuff out of the way. Have a trash can nearby. I'm bad. I usually just, about half the time, I swipe it on the floor and just sweep it up later. Whatever. So last but not least, I got to move the ruffles on each side of this one out of the way a little bit to put this in its twist tie. Twist a couple times and then fluff and line up my ruffles to the ruffles on each side, okay? So now we've finished the first layer of mesh. Doesn't look like a lot. Yes, I know. So you can go around and fluff it a little bit. Oh, what happened there? How did that happen? What was that all about? Let us check. It can't. The mesh came out on one side. Did one of my twist ties break? It did. Not the end of the world. Here we go. I get to show you a fix-it. I will use this. But in most of the colors, you can buy replacement ties. I'm not going to use it on this one. But all you would do is take those off and put one of these on, glue it, fasten it some way to hold it in place, or just make sure it's super tight. So you learned that today. That was an extra bonus. Haha. So this is long enough, since it's a smaller wreath, that I can go ahead and use a little bit of the tie, twist it around. Otherwise I would take that piece and I would use it. Alright, give it a good twist, and I'm wrapping it around the tie that's in there already to keep it from moving back and forth on the ring. Put that back in. So that was good that I went around. Tight and low. There, I still have plenty of room for the ribbon tails. Okay, just make sure everything's good. Get everything nice and fluffed out. Okay. Now that we've done that, you want to make sure that your ties are positioned vertically, because you're going to be putting your ribbon tails in horizontally. So let me go ahead and do the first one. On the bottom layer, I'm going to do the V formation that I use on the pancake wreath on the base layer. And I'll explain that as I'm going. There's my bundle. This one is what I want on top, then the white, then the blue. Folding it in half and putting in a crease in it also helps you keep your center when you're ruffling. So to do that, you're just going to gather with one or two hands into an index finger and thumb up the center, and then you're going to take your other hand and you're going to pull it in an upside down V or inverted V, however you want to refer to it, making sure your ribbon is still even on both sides. And you're going to go over to the frame, and you're going to have the twist tie. I keep wanting to say zip tie. The twist tie vertical right in front of you. Put that ribbon in there horizontally and tie it off. If you're done adding elements to this layer, at this point, these are super stiff compared to pipe cleaners. And look at all this extra. Let me zoom in. See how much extra I have? There's a lot going on in here. Sorry, guys. I don't have anything black, do I? No. See how much length I have on that? You can either just tuck it into the wreath, or you can take your wire cutters and cut off any excess and just have a little stub. I'm going to do one other thing. I'm not going to cut it off. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it through the frame, push it down. I'm going to turn the frame over, and I'm going to wrap it around the frame with the sharp points facing back towards the front of the wreath so it won't scratch anyone's doors. That gives it even more security to keep your ruffles and your ribbon from adjusting and flip-flopping. So now I'm going to position my ribbon I always start with the bottom. I lift the top two up, lift and run my fingers over the ribbon as I'm placing it to get any wrinkles or creases out, plus to give it a touch of curl. Then I do the next one, then I do the top one. You can use anywhere from 2 to 3 styles of ribbon per ribbon bundle. It's up to you. I like 3. 3 is my magic number most of the time. Every once in a while I'll do 2. It just depends on the design and how much extra embellishment I'm doing. So also on the lower layer, this side has the floral, this floral first, and then this embroidered floral last. This side I'm going to flip the story. I'm going to bring the top 2 up and bring the embroidered down, where on this side the embroidered is up. The white's going to be in the middle, and then this is going to be there. Another thing to keep in mind when you're handling the ribbon, it's not as delicate as the mesh, but never grab it by the edge because it will start fraying as well. And then you'll have to cut it and you lose length. You want people to be able to see the ribbon from the bottom layer on the outside edge because that's really all they're going to see from the bottom layer. Okay, so we're just going to continue through. Oh, look at that. It's been so long since I made this kit, like a year. I just haven't gotten to make it, and I wanted to save it for the spring. So it looks to me, yep, we all live and learn, right? So it was supposed to be the embroidered on top is what I had decided. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave the embroidered on the bottom on the lower layer, and then do it the opposite way on top to give it even more dimension. How's that? I think that's a good idea. Tuck that in so no one can see the ends, wrap it around the frame, fix what I just did. Don't handle it too much because you can handle it at the end, but I do have to do this. Okay? Alright. Let's do the next one. The first 6 I'm going to have to adjust. These are my bundles. Let me just go ahead and get that out of the way. I need 6. So this will be on top and this will be on the bottom. That's 3. This isn't a perfect science. You've got so many options. Have fun with it. Do the different things. Mix it up. Let's see. So that's... There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. I also have my dad living here, so if you hear a rolling chair, I apologize. That's him. His room's above my studio. Okay, so back to business. Let's ruffle this up the center where we crease the bundles. Pull the tails down, make sure they're even. Bring them over to the frame, put them in the frame, twist it up. I will tell you on the top layer, I probably will cut off the excess, so you'll get to see several ways to do this. I'm going to put it down under, push it through. These are stiff compared to pipe cleaners, let me tell you. Wrap it around the frame. It's more work than you have to do. I just do it because I don't want to take any chance on damaging someone's door. You're the expert, they aren't. You don't want them to put it on their door not realizing and then it getting damaged. We got to take care of our customers, clients. Alright, so there's 2. Actually, I need 7 because remember, it's an odd number on each layer. On a pancake wreath, you have 12 ties just like here on this elevated frame, but you have 6 on the bottom, 6 on the top. So that allows you to have pattern. This is 7 on the bottom, 5 on the top, remember. Bring that in front of me, lay it into the frame. Bring it through. Flip it over. Now I'm going to separate by lifting the top 2. And then one by one bringing them down and into position. And if you haven't watched any of my other videos, I do tend to work half off the table. Don't know why. It's my comfort zone. Okay? So here's the one that I think it's the one. Maybe not. Never mind. Ignore everything I just said as far as this. Okay, put that back in there. I love this in every way, but is anybody like me and it makes you think of Corelware? The kitchen plates and bowls and stuff, the pattern. the blue and white, the floral design. So that's shorter than that, but no big deal. I'll just twist this, tuck it under, put it around the frame. I'm not going to turn it around this time, so because you get the message how I did the back, right? If not, you can go back and rewatch that section of the video. And if I left anything out, any information out that you need on making this, as far as supplies and tools and stuff like that, because it happens sometimes, we're all human, make sure you message me. I will be more than happy to clarify anything you have questions for. This is the next one. I'm always making sure I wrap it around the center ring. There's 3 rings, so this gets wrapped around the middle ring. So lift, separate, and I'm running my fingers along the ribbon. I tend to pat it down. I don't know why. Just, you know, that's my thing. The ribbon's going to fight staying in place too. You'll see that some of them have moved. You know, I when I make it, that's how it looks when I put it in there. But then it starts this where it starts hiding the ones underneath. Don't worry about it on the bottom layer till we get to the end and fluff everything. Because as always, the less you handle it, the better. The materials. Okay. 2 of them go on this layer. Oop, I didn't make my V. You don't have to. This is what I choose to do so that I make sure as much of the ribbon is facing the outside edge of the wreath. So it's seen. What's the point of putting it in here if no one's going to see it, right? And I swear sometimes these ties are shorter from one to another. Because that one seemed awfully short. And I'm pretty consistent on how much tension I put on them. So certain ones shouldn't be longer than the others. But hey, improvise, adapt and overcome, right? I say that a lot. Last but not least, yeah, I'm gathering it from the top down. You can gather it from the top down, the bottom up. Like I said earlier, I like to mix things up so things don't get monotonous. Can't believe I waited a year to make this. I did do a Stormbrew version of it with the bigger wreath sign, the 12-inch. This is what, an 8 or 10. And it's running away from me. Yeah, this is an 8-inch round. Okay. And then lift and separate. And if you notice, I'm a little aggressive with it. It's built for that. It's securely in that fastener, that tie, so you can give it a good tug to get it to go where you want it to go. Show it who's in charge, okay? All right. So that's the first layer. Starting to look even better, right? Okay. So now it's time to bring the ties up from the center. Okay. There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's time to do the mesh again. Again, with the chip clip, I'm going to use this to weigh it down, pull off any frays. That one's just, yeah, trash. Try to keep your workspace clean so that it doesn't end up attaching itself to the wreath. I'm telling you, this stuff right here, it's Velcro. Or at least a distant cousin. Ruffle it. So on this layer, the mesh is exactly the same. Tighten low a couple times with the twist. But I'm not going to put on the ribbon before the, well, we'll see. I'm thinking I'm going to put the sign on before the ribbon, but don't quote me on that. Sometimes things change. One, two, three, four, five. And don't get frustrated if you try one of these and you're really slow. We were all slow when we started. Don't beat yourself up. Try to always have a little more of the supplies you need, just in case you make a boo-boo. So you don't get discouraged and give up. Mistakes are part of the learning process. Okay, and making sure these two edges meet, that makes me know that the mesh is in there correctly. There's something else I was going to say about this layer, and now I can't remember. It's that brain fog. I'm going to stick with that excuse for now. There's something else I was doing different, I think, on this layer, but right now, excuse me for coughing, it escapes me right now. Alright, get that one in, centered in the tie in front of me. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Yep, on the bottom layer I went this way attaching, on the top layer I'm going this way. There is no specific reason for that. It's just how I started each layer. There's no rhyme or reason to that. I want to explain it to you so you don't feel confused and feel like you have to do it that way. Nope. That was just me without thinking. Out of the way. Okay. Bring it in front of me. Make sure my ties are vertical to me because I'm putting that mesh in horizontal to me. Checking the edges to make sure they're the same height. Keeping it centered. Fluff it out. Next piece. So I have, what, 2 more? That was 3, yep. Now it seems to be moving quicker for whatever reason. I will say that when I create each day, when I do the first wreath, it's definitely slower, and as I pick up speed and momentum I pick up speed and momentum as I'm creating. It's you know, it's very, it becomes second nature again. Invariably, my very first ruffle is my least favorite ruffle. And as I go, they get even more perfect. Hopefully that makes sense. Some people sit to create, some people stand. I mostly sit, but I get up and down, especially when I'm trying to decide where to put a sign. Okay, those edges match. Spread them out. Okay. And is that all 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That really went fast. I have some extra piece. See, I kept extra supplies. Okay. So now I have to decide if I'm going to put the sign in first, so I'm going to stand up. And I think automatically I'm not going to put the sign in first. I'm going to put the ribbon in first. But intentional or not, this section right here is laying flatter than the rest. So I'm going to choose to put my sign here so that it sits nestled into the wreath a little bit more. Or I can use that for where I'm going to place my bow. But I think I'm going to use it for the sign. So when we come back to put the sign in after the ribbon, I know it's going to go right there. Okay, let me sit back down. Sometimes it also helps to take your phone and put it on camera mode and take a look at your creation from the top. You're going to get a different perspective from your camera than you are looking at it with your naked eye. I'm not sure the science behind it, but it's a fact. And I always do take a picture of it before I do pictures for my shop for the listings. Because then that way I know where I need to adjust elements and ribbon and stuff, okay? It's amazing. I don't know. I'll go ahead and do that one first so I have it another way. Now remember, on the top layer, I'm putting the embroidered on top and the floral on the bottom. And I'm also cutting off the excess pieces of the twist ties. I'm also going to ruffle it, but not make the V shape. It's going to be more of a starburst. Put it in there in the one directly in front of me. Twist it about 5 to 6 times. That's giving me about a 1 to 2 inch stub twist on that, and then I'm going to cut all the excess off, because on this layer, let me bring you in while I do this. See that? I'm going to cut the excess off above what I'm going to roll into almost like a button. See that? And now I'm going to spread the ribbon out in the formation. Except on the bottom, I did it different on each side of the center. This side, on the top layer, I tend to always do the pattern the same on both sides. And I'll go back again at the end and adjust the ribbon if I need to. And I'm just going to go around and do the same thing again. Gather up the center, put it in the tie, twist it. Now on this particular twist, I'll bring you back out a little bit more. One side of the tie is really short, so that makes it easy for me to cut off the excess. I only have to do it on one side. Roll that down into like a button centered in the ribbon bundle. And I'm going to separate it out again, doing exactly what I did in the previous bundle. I turn my project as I go also. I didn't mention that before, I don't think. I have in all the other videos. So I'm not working harder, I'm working smarter, meaning I'm not reaching across the table or across the project and putting stress on my body, because that's where backache comes in a lot faster too. I'm moving the project and turning it towards me so that what I'm working on is directly in front of me. It's less stress on your body. It's another idea to think about. Make sure that your ties are vertical, because the ribbon goes in horizontal. See how big and fluffy it's getting? Can you finally see the light on what's going on here? So I'm putting the embroidered, my reason for putting the embroidered floral design to the outside and on top more is because that way the floral that matches the sign doesn't blend in so much with the sign. It gives me a contrast up against where the sign's going to be so that it's much clearer. You can see everything. There's no point in putting something in a creation that no one's going to see. The mesh, for the most part, yes, because as my business coach has always said, the mesh is your solid foundation of your project. It gives it the support and lift it needs. Often like a bra, we joke about it, that the mesh is the bra of your wreath. Gives you a solid foundation, just like a bra. Okay. Twist. And I'm twisting very tight and low on the first one so that everything is sitting as low as possible so there's no room for flopping. Okay. It really does make a difference. If you're having huge gaps between your mesh and your ribbon, that is something you need to correct, because you'll run out of twist tie and the flopping problem can occur. As it is, if it's going to be in the elements, it's going to flop in the wind. And needless to say, in Nebraska here right now, it's Wind City. So I try to make sure everything's as secure as possible. Even if it's going somewhere that's protected or in the house. It can't hurt is what I'm saying. Okay. Last but not least, I'm going to put this in. Now, I probably shouldn't have cut this and this one, and you'll understand in a minute. I'm not cutting anything. I'm not going to tighten this up yet. I'll show you. You guys get the gist of how it should go. Okay. Remember, this is the one the sign's going to nestle into. Okay. I'm not going to cut that. This one. So now what we're going to do is put the sign in here, but I forgot that I need this one. How do I want to do this? So this is the one I'm going to use. So I'm definitely going to use this twist tie for this hole. Let's see where we are with that. So I haven't cut anything there yet. I haven't. So I'm going to bring... Let me take this out for a second, because I want to make sure the long side. I can fix that in a minute. I know the horror. What are you doing, Marguerite? Okay. I'll fix all that in a minute. So I'm going to use this to hold the sign on. If I was using florals around the sign for sure, I would just take another one. I would probably take one of these, or a pipe cleaner, or a piece of wire to attach the sign to the wreath. But I don't know if that's going to happen. And if I use wire or anything else, I'm going to have to disguise it, or it doesn't look good. So let's go with this. Let me untwist this once more. Ribbon's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to put that through the sign. And I am going to use the needle nose to help get it through. Because this is a lot thicker than a pipe cleaner, but it will go through. Alright, so let's get that in there. I'm going to use the long side to wrap around. I'm going to have to put something there, I think. I could be wrong. Okay, so back up even more. This is my solution. I came up with my solution, right? Take the ribbon off. Ha ha ha! It's been a while since I did a pixie wreath. I'm going to put the sign on first. I can't have it perfect when I teach you. You got to see that I am not perfect either. Insert laughs here. I'm not going to push it all the way down, because otherwise when I attach the other end, it's going to buckle. We don't want it to buckle. Yuck. So I'm just going to push it down most of the way. And then I'm going to tighten this up just once. And then I'm going to put the ribbon in. Ah, ha, ha. So this was a partial the ribbon in before the sign and partial after. Okay, that's the answer, at least in this one's case. Alright, I'm going to do this. Tighten it up. There's not a lot. I have small fingers, so I'm going to take this and assist myself to make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't pop off. I'm still not going to cut it. I'm going to make it in this one into a little bitty bump on the top. Alright. I'm not going to fix the ribbon yet because I have to determine what's going on here first. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yep, and the bow will go here. So that means that I need to, I don't know if I need, do I need to bring it this way? Do I want the ribbon behind or on top? Yeah, I want the ribbon here behind so that it doesn't cover up the beautiful sign. So I'm going to bring all the ribbon into a V right here. And I'm going to use this because then that way it matches that one. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to put it through the back of the frame, holding my sign so it doesn't get jacked up. I think I'll put it here. I think I'll put it right here. And I'm going to try to feed it through the I better try to feed it through the mesh. Making sure it's going around one of the rings on the frame. It's going to be a little more difficult because it's thick, but fortunately this mesh has a loose weave to it for me to feed it through. Okay. I'm going to cut off excess of this tie when I get done. I'm like, oh yeah, this will be easy to do right after I was really sick. Easy peasy. Okay, we're all in this together, right? So I'm not going to bother making it even on both sides because I am going to cut off excess on this one so that we can get this small bump like that one. Okay, about 5 or 6 times. Twist it. I might try to put a flower there. Stay tuned. Let's take a look. All right. All right. I'm going to stand up, take a look at it, see if I approve. Position all the ribbon. And I'm going to adjust everything I knocked out of place by putting the sign in. Alrighty. Alright, there's some fray. Let's see. Let's see how much time we've used. Alright. There we go. So let me show you what we got now. So now we're going to make, I think we're going to make a Jordan bow. We're going to make a single loop with 2 tails of each ribbon bow to go over here. And I think that works for me, okay? All right, it's time to set this aside for a few minutes and bring the bow maker out. I use it upside down. Again, remember I'm a lefty. I'm assuming that's why that's an issue. How I decided to do it. Let's take a look. So I'm doing the white on the bottom because that'll be a nice contrast against all that blue. Then I'm going to put that. Put that one, that one, that one, and then that. So these are my 2.5 inch ribbons. I'm putting them towards the back. You don't have to do that. You can mix and match. It's entirely up to you. It's just it's my technique. And then I have 2 1.5 inch ribbons. And this is 5/8 or 7/8? 7/8 inch ribbon. I use that for a center loop. Okay, so I'm going to lay everything down. You're building your bow from the bottom up. This is my bow maker of choice. There's a more basic one that's smaller. I have this one, which is the Easy Bow Design Pro. It's made by Easy Bow Maker. All the information's on here. The name of the company is easycraft.com, and it's e-zcraft.com. They are the designers and have the trademark on this. So why did I go from the basic model to this one? It's because mostly you get 10 inches on this side of measurement and 16 on this one. And the original has 8 or 9 inches on each side. So this allows you to make bigger bows. Let's see. All right. So I always try to keep the tails a little longer than I need when I'm putting the bow together. You can cut it off, but you can't add it. So I'm putting my roll in here. So the finished side of the ribbon is facing the ceiling and the unfinished side is facing the table, because you don't want it turned upside down. It's not as visible with the solid colored ribbons as it is with the patterns. You'll understand that if you do this. I'm going to start, I need this for a minute. So I'm going with the assumption, let me bring it back out, that the loops itself are going to be right about here. So my tails should be about that long. So that's about a 10-12 inch tail. It only goes to 10 on this side, so I'm going to measure from the 10 over to the 2, that's 12 inches. And I'm going to ruffle the ribbon, and then I'm going to twist it. So the tail, the finished side is up. The beginning of the loop is the finished side down. Because when I make my loop, which I'm going to go with a 6 inch because this is a smaller wreath, the finished side is what's going to appear when I complete the loop. Squish down, gather down, whatever you want to call it, your ribbon into the holder, the spools, and the finished side is now up on the other tail. We're just going to cut that. These will have those dovetails on them when we're done, but I don't always do it until I get it into the wreath. Sometimes I do it ahead, sometimes I don't. I know I had a pen. I'm forever finding pins. Don't use rubber bands on your ribbon. It will leave imprinted wrinkles. So as I go, I try to separate one tail for each side. So I'm going to keep this loop down the center, and I'm going to do these on either side, an inch or half an inch smaller, half an inch to an inch smaller. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing, and this time I'm going to make the tails 10 inches in length instead of 12. I could do 11, it's up to me, but I try to go down half an inch to an inch each tail. So finished side is up on the tail side. I gathered it in the center. Tail side, finished side up. Loop side, finished side down. Complete the loop. Just a little bit between 5 and 6 inches. Smush it, gather it down into the pegs. Spool, and cut it even. You could even do one side longer than the other on the tails. Again, another way to add dimension to your creation. Try to clean as you don't go. One less thing you have to do later. I really need something to put them in other than the drawer, because so what happens is if I bring out the drawer of pins, knowing me, I will dump them all over the floor. Okay, had a glitch there. It may or may not show. I apologize. So if you notice now, I'm laying these tails staggered so that both of them are not next to each other. So one on each side. And on this side, I put the floral outside of the white. On this side, I put it on the inside. More patterns, more dimension, the better. Okay? Make sure that's nice in there. And we go back and we use the next one. Let's see something here. So I'm going to keep this the same length as these. So I'm going to put this on the other side of the white one. So they are on each side. This loop is going to be the same size as the floral. Smush, gather, except I'm going to put it over there this time. Okay. Oh no, it's the end of the roll. I love this ribbon. We'll see if I get any more this year. There are just so many choices, it's hard to not want them all. Let me put that back on there so I have an idea which one goes with the spool. Oh, I need to plug in the glue gun. I didn't want to do it earlier because my iPad is there and my phone. And if I can have a workplace accident in wreath making, I will. Don't laugh, it's true. Or laugh. I don't mind. I'm not that sensitive. Let's put it into the power supply and turn it on. I have a couple of glue guns. I have the average glue gun you can buy at the craft store, Walmart. This is a professional one from Uline. This is the Cadillac of glue guns. This is the Cadillac of glue guns. So there's that. This will be for the bow. And then I need a zip tie. There we go. Okay, so now since I put that one there, so many distractions. Apologies, everyone. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in and put this in there. Or do I want to do a light blue? Let's mix it up. Is this the right blue? Decisions. Let's see how it looks. Okay, shall we? It is this color in here, so it'll work. So now that I'm going to the 1.5 inch ribbons, I'm going to make much longer tails because I'm going to curl them. So I think I'll go with 14, no 16. So that's 10 inches on this side of the post and 6 inches on this side. Gather it. Yeah, that definitely fits the colors. And so this is going to end up against the plain white in the center. So this time I'm going down to 5 inches because this was 6, 5.5, now 5. I'm not twisting it after I've made the loop. Use this as a guide to how long it should be. When you're only doing one loop or you've finished the last loop of a ribbon, you don't twist the ribbon. Otherwise, one tail is going to be upside down. Okay. So that one's going to go here. Make sure everything's neatly in the bow maker. And then I'm going to go back. And I'm going to use this one. Same thing. Make it 14 for the tail. Again, going down in size a little. Twist, put it in the frame. Okay, maybe not because I ran out of, wow. Bring it down a little bit more. So maybe I won't twist this as much. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So, okay. I'm going to go here. That's still about 4. Yeah. There we go. This is going to be just smaller than the 5 inch. That's basically 4.5 inches. That was the end of that. I need to order more of this collection. I really do. I like it a lot. Okay. So this is going to go on the opposite side as the 2.5 inch version of it, okay? And then I feel like I need one more ribbon. What should I put on here? You know what I'll do? Is I will just put this one over here and this one over here, and then this will be the center. We're adapting and overcoming, okay? This one will probably be the longest tail because I really want to curl it up. So I'm twisting it. And I'm going to make a center loop that's about a little over 3 inches. And then I'll cut it again. Okay, so we're done with that. Put this away. I managed not to knock it off the table and have pins everywhere. Don't laugh, it happens. Everybody waits to text me and call me till I'm filming, and that's what's happening right now. Sorry, guys. But I'm also quiet because I'm tired and I'm still not feeling myself 100%. So you can't tell that it's been a very long time since I filmed because I tend to film a bunch of content at once so that if something comes up, there's no gap. I managed to have all but 1 week covered, one Sunday covered. So I put that around, and I put the zip tie around the ribbon on the side with the tails, not the loops, because I find that if I put it on the side with the loops, my loops end up smaller. That's the reason behind putting it there. I tightened it up, but not all the way, enough to push up all the ribbon from the bottom with one hand on the top to keep the ribbon from flying off the table. And then I'm going to see, that's the center. You usually take your fingers and hold it right there, but because my thumbs are so short, that's not always a possibility. So I tend to use the table to push my zip tie to the back. I'm going to tighten it a little bit more and flip my bow over. There's still some moss around here, darn it. That stuff is like glitter and Easter grass. You never totally get rid of it. I'm going to put the pipe cleaner in, even on both sides of the zip tie. And I'm going to tighten this up even more, but not super tight. I'm going to hold it by the zip tie and the pipe cleaners. And I'm going to arrange my loops where I want them to be permanently, giving them a good tug. And it's okay that I didn't use as much ribbon as I do in some other bows, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to use those florals to fill in around the bow. Okay? Then position your ribbon tails where you want them to lie as best as possible. So this should be over here, and this should be here. Trying not to keep like ribbon on top of each other. Sometimes I even wrap the pipe cleaners around this post to work with this. There are other options that I'll share in other videos. But I think that's what I'm going for. It's not perfect, but everything's positioned. Everything's been fluffed out at the bases so it doesn't look funny, and none of the front of the ribbon's turned around to the back. We'll play with it more once we get it on top. So at this point, I'm going to take the needle nose and tighten it completely up. And I'm going to cut the excess off of the zip tie only, not the ribbon. You will be crying because you'll have to put your ribbon bow back together. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn the wreath towards you and show you where I'm going to place this. I want it high enough. I don't want it next to there. You could do that, but I'm going to place it up and to the side of the sign so you can still see as much of the sign as possible. And that's where this helper tool comes in handy. I use this to feed the pipe cleaner through all the mesh so I am not struggling with the process. You can find them in any size. These are 6. I tried 3-inch ones first from Walmart because that's the biggest they had. Not big enough when you get into a big fluffy wreath. 6-inch is what I usually use. They also make metal ones. It's up to you what you want to use. I prefer the plastic one. So I'm putting one pipe cleaner on one side of the ribbon bundle. And then on the other side of the ribbon bundle, making sure I don't go through the ribbon on the bottom layer. Move that out of the way now. I'm going to take the other side of the pipe cleaner. Pull it through and pull it through the back. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the pipe cleaners from the back. move the ribbon bow, not the, well, duh, it's ribbon bow. Move the bow to the position I want it in, manipulate it a little bit, then I'm going to turn it back over, and I'm going to make sure my pipe cleaners are one on each side of a ring, because we need something besides the mesh to hold it in place. I'm going to tighten it up, but not so much that it sucks the bow entirely into the wreath. I'm just wanting to keep it from being loose. Okay, so I'm going to tighten that up, twist it, and since I use the really long pipe cleaners, it's excessive, so I will cut off the excess and tuck in the rest of the pipe cleaner into the wreath facing the front. You won't see it from the front, but it'll be away from any door, any chance of it being able to scratch a door. Okay, I threw it in the trash and the trash wasn't pulled out. Habits. Put that in there. I'm going to look at it before I show it to you right side up for you again. Hold it there. Bring some of these over here. I'm giving it a little attitude, showing it who's in charge. Okay, those are shorter, those are longer. That's that. That over there, and that over there, and there, and that. See how much I'm tugging it? It does not hurt them. Okay. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is trim all my tails, and then I'm going to go back and see if I'm going to use these after all. I need to turn this. It's twisted. This is not where I want it to be. Twist it this way a little more. Mash all the ribbon. Okay. I'll fix all that. Because I want it to be straight, I'm going to start at the bottom of the tails to trim them. I'm going to make my dovetails by cutting up and away from the new fold. Run my fingers on them to make them nice and smooth. Position them as I'm doing that. All right. Put that one there, and I'm going to put this one outside of this white one, making sure they're not next to each other. Notice I'm going to shorten this one up a little bit so it's not hanging too far past the wreath. Then this one will come in on the inside of the white a little bit. This one didn't get unwrinkled as well. I'm going to put this on the outside of the white, and then I think, yeah, I'm going to cut the white a little bit more too. Like I said, you can always cut some off, but you can't add any on. Now these are going to have spiral curls in them, so I'm not going to cut any off. At least not yet. I'm going to take and roll it on itself till I get to the base of the ribbon, and then I'm going to pull it out. Isn't that pretty? Do it with this one. You could keep them all straight like the bottom ones. That's why every wreath is different and unique. I'm going to roll it on itself. Now I go to the next ones. Cut it. Running my fingers over it to smooth it. Pull it out. Oh, I got kind of wrinkled because it's the end of the roll. If you ever have wrinkled ribbon, a hair straightener will straighten your ribbon if you run it over the ribbon quickly without ruining it, and then you're not wasting any product either. I keep that in my bag with me for every show I do because invariably something gets wrinkled. Just is what it is. Now on this, these are such thin ribbons, the 7/8, that I'm not going to do the V. I'm just going to do a slanted cut like this. But still I'm going to roll it. You can also use the center of a mesh roll or a dowel or something to help you roll your ribbon. This is kind of small, so I'm not sure how small the curls are going to be, but let's give it a shot. That didn't hurt anything. This one I already had done. I accidentally made the slant cut when I cut it off of the roll. So I'm just going to take it out now that I've established the size of the curl. Okay, let me clean this out of the way so it's not distracting, and then I'll show you where we're at. I try to clean as I go. I'm not always successful. All right, let me take a look at it, and then I'm going to show it to you guys. There. So there we are. Now I have to decide if I want to put the florals in, and if so, where. This reminds me the most of the flower in the picture. So I definitely want to use that. Do I want it in the bow or do I want to put it down here? Let me see. No, because then I'd need two. Well, let me see if I have to. One moment, please. I brought all the spring florals back to the house and stored. Blue. Let's see if I have another one. I may have bought. I don't really like the yellow on that one. Okay, we'll just stay with one and move it up here. I think I'm going to put this one in behind the bow going that one. That way. Do I have any more? Oh wait, did I have another? Those are roses. Yeah, those are roses. Those are light blue. This is the best part about doing this in my own studio now, is I can jump up and go grab something else. I'm going to bring this over too. Look how purple is that in? Some more. Incoming. What is this? I feel like there should be a lot more blue that I bought last year. Okay, this is our, I don't understand where they were. I swear I had more. Okay, anyway. See, me squirreling. Real life here, guys. Okay. I did find more of these. Let me see. So I definitely want to put that there. So let me cut this tag off. You know, whoever puts tags on florals needs some retraining. I'm going to cut the excess off. So I'm going to go ahead and get most of the tag off that way. Okay. So I think, yeah, I'm going to glue it in right here. Behind the ribbon. Wiggle it around. That way it attaches itself. And this is where I'm going to stand. Often with florals, I have to stand. I can't help it. Let that settle in and then reposition your ribbon. That almost seems like enough. But, you know, let's see what we can do. I'm going to have to fix all that. Decisions. you know, that may be it. I don't really feel that now that we've gotten to this point. It's not blue enough. What I'll do is I wonder if that'll look good. Let's take a look. If I put it up here. Oh, why not? Right? Florals like this is a good point in time to use a glue pot instead of a glue gun. This is a glue pot, but I didn't warm it up. It's just a really small skillet. But don't ever use it for anything else after you use it for glue. Okay, decisions. Do I want to put any of this in there? It's a different color green in the greenery. I could just take this piece here and add a pop of the darker blue that matches that. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to put it back here. And I'm not laying everything flat. This is going to face the ceiling a little more than some of the other stuff does, so it gets the dimension. I need that. I like those. I wonder if those would look good. Should we put this in there? And this. I'll put these in there too. Just not the greenery, because it's such a different greenery. I think that's enough. I think that's enough. Alright, get all this out of the way. Fix the bow. Get the glue strings out of my face. Alright, let's take a look at what it looks like on your side real quick. Okay, so there we go. Not too hard. It took a little longer than usual because I'm still getting back into the grooves of things, but you know, we all need a little grace sometimes, and I'm asking for that today. Alright, I'll fluff it a little bit more before I do the final cut. Okay, so now you've seen the complete process of making this wreath. Not hard, it's broken down into pretty simple steps. If you want to see a video where I walk you through a pixie wreath where I've cut every little thing on camera, you need to refer back to my videos in the first 3 or 4 months of 2024 if you want that. I'm hoping this gives you some inspiration on trying something different yourself. Like I said, this is like kind of like a I call it a pixie wreath or a mini wreath. It's on the smaller frame like I talked about during the process of making it. So it's not huge, and I promise to give you guys measurements. So from my hand to my hand, this is 20 inches. So it's actually a little bit less wide than a pancake / stormbow wreath. So, and then the other direction, it's pretty much the same. Yep. It's pretty much a perfect circle. Yes, the bow strays off of the circle a little bit, but that's not a big deal. If it bothers you and it doesn't look like it's in line, trim your tails off even more. I could do that, but I'm not at this point. I'm happy with it. Well, I appreciate you joining me today while I assembled this wreath for you guys. It was a lot of fun. I love blue. This is very much a reminder, like I said in the bigger version of this wreath design. It reminds me of my mom. She loved blue. And it also reminded me of Corelle wear, the dinnerware. If you know, you know. So, thanks again for joining me. I know that you could spend your time doing anything you want. There's lots of other things you could be doing, but you choose to spend some time with me. I hope you've learned something new and enjoyed it. If you're not somebody that's going to make stuff and you're just here to see how this stuff is done for entertainment purposes, if you're interested in any product I make, there's going to be links in the description of the video to the Etsy shop. That's where I sell all of my product unless you're purchasing in person. So thanks again for enjoying me. No, thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you aren't burdened by this nasty crud that's going around. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys again soon. Just remember, subscribing is free. You can follow me on Facebook as well. Every platform except for TikTok. I'm Wreath by Marguerite. I do not do TikTok. So enjoy. Bye-bye.